Call the meeting to order at 7:30 for the Wilson Conservation Commission. And I guess if anybody's got any omissions or corrections about the minutes, this might be a time to
I
speak
do.
up.
On page 1, just two amendments that I'll submit. One is enforcement order, it's just grammatical, and then down at the bottom, discussion for 97 Mill, it says Brian Badger was present, also Chuck Driscoll was present. So those are two that I have. Anna, do you have some?
Yeah, I thought that the one on discussion of proposed change, 305 Foster Street, it says we approved the change as insignificant, but I thought I don't know, maybe it's the same thing, but I thought we approved the change as a field change.
Yes,
it
it's
must be
yes, the same, so
insignificant, but it's a field change.
insignificant, yeah.
Okay.
So, or you can change it to field change.
All right. And then also, I didn't know what a bubble plan is.
That's like an overlay.
With bubbles, is that what it's
Well,
called?
with the
Bubble
change,
plan?
well, it's like the change, so it's like an overlay.
Okay.
So you have what was proposed and what the change is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Let's see. On the request for certificate of compliance, 417 King Street, it says that he will look at possibly increasing the berm, but I thought more specifically extending the berm and/or increasing its depth. That's what I added.
Yeah, I think that he was going to have to do some discovery because he wasn't there when it was constructed. So my takeaway was that they're probably going to have to go excavate it a little bit and see how it was done.
Okay.
I don't know if that states that or if you want to make a change to that.
I suggested instead of saying possibly increasing the berm, it's not just increasing it, well, maybe increasing it is the depth, but just be more specific that extending the berm, which is toward the pipe, and/or increasing its depth. That's what I said.
Do you want to just write that in?
Yeah, I put a red line.
Okay.
And that's it.
Anybody else got any further corrections or omissions?
I support that we vote for those as amended.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I've got one thing, it's not on the agenda, but we decided we should send a thank you note to Middlesex, I think it's Middlesex, for they donated some crushed stone to the
yeah.
Gap property. So I'd like everybody to, I believe everybody can sign it.
Yep.
Okay, this is it.
Yeah, and I guess, I don't know if I suppose I should have a motion that we send that. Somebody just want to make a quick motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And we're allowed to accept that sort of thing? And,
Mm-hmm.
Finley,
as long as-
Rick Finley was behind them all.
okay.
He even, I suppose there was supposed to be another letter for Agway, because they donated the trucking, which I don't see tonight.
Would it be considered a gift, like, that we have to have a limit of $50 for?
It's just a thank you.
No,
note,
nothing.
so It's through the, I think through the trust, too.
It's through the trust.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I see we got, thank you, vacancy application, associate position, Matthew Cahill. You want to speak to us for a few minutes?
No, I'm still.
Is Amy Green here?
No, she's not here.
Okay, so she's the one, so that's how this came about. The
Here,
person
just
I
come,
spoke
have a seat with us. Come on.
See.
Have a seat with us. That's great. Thanks. Welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Great.
Amy's usually here, but she has a commitment this evening.
So my wife is more on the social medias and things, and I guess she found out that there was a vacancy of some sort, that the Conservation Commission was looking for new membership potentially. So it's kind of been on my radar for a long time. You know, I live in Littleton. I've been here for about 5 years now. I'm a forester by trade. I currently work with the Department of Conservation and Recreation and do mostly urban forestry, tree planting. So I'm around this sort of work a lot. And she said, why don't you go do something about it? Instead of just talking about the town all the time, why don't you go look into it? So I called, and she recommended that I come down to a meeting and I guess there's these different positions, and she talked about the commission and how people are reapplying. And then there's a potential of this associate where she didn't get into any detail about what that entailed. But just suggested I come down to the meeting today, so here I am.
Basically, you can sit in on the meetings, you can do things that we talk about as far as conservation and the land, but you don't have a vote. That's the only thing that you really, any different. And you were willing to
Did you
take
want
your
associate?
input.
I was.
Do you want to talk to that?
So it's basically, you participate in the meetings as a member would, but like Jim was saying, you don't have a vote when it comes down to it. But it's still a very good position to learn about the town and the board, and
It's a great
so
way to get
you-
mentored through it as
Yeah.
well, to be able to see the commitment, go on the sidewalks, and really get to see from start to finish how that goes through with a lot of the paperwork, for sure, as well.
And is that an expected term duration? Like I would.
3 years.
I would be applying for 3
Well,
years?
we are, the
Mhm.
appointed members have a 3-year term.
How long were you appointed for?
It might be indefinite. I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's either that or a year.
One of these.
You're forever. I mean, it's one of the two.
Sure.
Well, and you can also, it sounds like you're interested in, your background is relevant, and so, having different, like Carl's Fish and Wildlife, geology, Sarah knows everything.
Very little.
No, but it's, it's also a nice way to, contribute from your background as well, and, it sounds
Great.
like it would be complementary to what we have.
Have you had a chance to watch any of the meetings or listen at all? Because it really does run the gamut from a single homeowner's septic system all the way through to a large development like the Point or Omni or something like that. So you never know what's coming forward, and there's never really a slow time as much. Our field work can't be done when it's snow covered, but it's still there's still a lot of paperwork and working with other parties, third-party reviews as well. Yeah.
I can see with your forestry background, what have you, would be good as far as when you have to start thinking about plantings that have to be replaced on
Yeah.
Yeah.
properties and stuff. You would
a lot
have,
of right now.
you would have information that some of us don't have.
And
Dealing
are
with
there other-
invasives.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
wildlife
Yeah,
corridors,
that's
too.
something
Yeah,
coming
and
up.
wildlife
It's a big
corridors.
issue.
Were there
Yeah.
other state employees here? Your Fish and Wildlife?
I'm federal. No.
You are
Yeah,
federal.
yeah,
Carl
Carl.
Mill,
Do you have to do disclosures?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Just making sure.
had to submit that
Great.
both to the
So
state.
take care of that first and then apply?
Yep. I think it's
It's
Simultaneously?
the other way around.
Okay, great.
applying.
I would,
Once you get the position,
I think you still, finally, you do have to go to the selectmen to be appointed as far
As an
as,
associate, yeah.
Okay.
we didn't used to, but we do now.
Questions that you have of us so far? We do try and do site walks, and we try and work around everybody's schedule. Sometimes it's early morning, late in the day. Sometimes it could be the weekend as well. It just really, it depends on sunlight. So in the wintertime, it's a little more difficult to try and get on them. But we try and have either the homeowner or the developer or the engineer present at the time to kind of, we do try and do walkthroughs on pretty much all the sites, so.
And everyone goes, or is it?
We
No.
try, yeah, we try and have one set meeting, but then with the landowner's permission, commissioners can go at their leisure by just acknowledging that they're there. Yep. Where's your office?
Unfortunately in Boston.
Yeah,
The headquarters on Causeway Street, so.
yeah, okay,
But it's a statewide program, so I get around a little bit.
yeah.
Mostly in, again, kind of, if you're familiar with the gateway cities, it's the gateway industrial hubs.
Cool. How long have you lived in town?
About 5 years.
Welcome.
And it's changed a lot in those 5 years.
It has, yeah.
Well,
it
You
has.
haven't seen anything.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's-
No, I'm serious.
Yeah, it's changing, for sure.
I live
Yeah.
over by Snow Village, so there used to be a lot of farms, and then obviously the new one that got a
Yeah.
housing development that's been put up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but I'm 3 foot 495.
Yeah.
And that's when the town
Jim
probably
gives us the
changed.
history lesson on all the plots of land, so. But, yeah, we encourage you to kind of listen in and watch, or go back and listen to some of the meetings as well.
Great.
You get a feel for the applicants in the process, for sure.
And then to apply formally, where do I find the application?
It's online.
I think you
So,
can, yeah.
there isn't like an application for associate member. I think this board would make the recommendation to the selectmen that you be appointed, and then they do it formally. But I don't think you can apply to be associate, if that makes any sense.
Kind of comes from the recommendation of the board, I guess,
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
I think they're, well,
Has anybody got any?
I'm just wondering, because we just this iteration had to do an online application, and you could apply, you could pick pretty much any board at all
Mhm.
to apply for, and so, I mean, it would have to be Conservation Commission, but perhaps that,
Yeah.
saying associate position.
On the town website?
I'm just anticipating you being told you're gonna need to do the online, which is
You
on the
don't
town
have-
website,
you
it's
don't
easy to
have to.
find, but I would ask, you don't have to? Okay,
We get them printed out and
yeah,
Okay.
handed them in.
okay, but it's the same
They would
information,
like
same
you
form.
to.
Right.
Yeah.
Great.
So
So,
you could probably do the online one, and if you're interested in associate membership, maybe type in some space associates and.
yeah. And then overall, the time commitment is weekly?
Typically, we meet every other Monday, but then we have holidays and town meetings, things like that. So there may be a month where we meet once, but they're historically two.
And how often are the site visits?
Like once every 2 weeks?
At the
Well,
at the
one to
most.
two, one or two.
Yeah, a couple times a month. Yeah, we do try and stagger them all in, say, one early evening,
Yep.
so that we just kind of drive around and get them done.
Yep. Kids, I'm sure like lots of people here, so just
Yep.
gotta fix it into the schedule.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, think about it. If it's something that you're interested in, I know Amy can answer any of the specifics that you might have that we haven't been able to answer for you as well. But yeah, sounds like it would be a nice
Sounds
fit.
great.
Yeah,
Well, thanks for having me. Can
Cool.
can I just sit on the sidelines?
Yeah,
for a
absolutely.
minute? Just hang out? Great.
absolutely.
If you have any questions afterwards, you can ask
Yeah.
us.
Great.
Yeah, cool.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you, Matt.
Yeah, parking lot improvements. I'm not sure what she had in mind.
Based on, it says graveling of the parking lot is completed. Thank you, letter for signing. That's
Okay.
backup notes.
May I add one thing? On the Harvard Road parking lot, I went by there on last Saturday, and the parking lot was full and 2 cars outside parked on the side of the road.
Wow.
Nice.
So it is getting used.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Okay. So, we didn't have to do anything about that. It's 628 Newtown Road driveway stabilization, nice little notch down.
Amy's notes were, this has been completed, additional items need to be taken care of prior to the certificate of compliance, such as what has to do about, there's a deck that was built, wetlands mitigation monitoring, Goddard is working on this seasons, and assorted erosion stabilization. They haven't submitted anything for request of certificate of compliance, so not on the agenda.
Okay. I have sent in an application for reappointment. Julie, you said you did.
I did.
Carl, I don't know.
Yeah, he did.
He
He
did?
indicated the other day that
Good.
he did.
Cloverdale parking lot discussion with selectmen on June 11th.
Yep.
I see there's and that must be the site.
Site
No,
walk-
there's a site
Site
walk.
walk on June 7th at 5:30, but I think there was
Actually,
an
it's
email that
6.
just got
Yeah.
changed,
6
yeah, to
o'clock.
6 PM.
I think they're going to another property at 5:30, but, and
Yeah.
they switched it around. so.
Okay.
Okay. Chestnut Lane extension activity. Onyx has been up there, really going to town from what I understand. I can hear it from my place. They've been cleaning the property up. I thought there was some sort of an enforcement order or litigation or something on it, but Amy has not been able to find nothing for it. I don't know whether DEP or EPA. We
So
don't-
Amy's spoken with them and told them that they need to file a SWIP with EPA. It says which they've done. She walked the site briefly on Thursday with reps from Onyx and the architect designer. And she didn't see any current work in the buffer, so we just have to check and make sure that the SWIP has been filed based on that original clear cut.
Okay. Discussion, Turkey Farmhouse possible for request of certificate of compliance and Farm Pond culvert.
Yep, they're gonna be in tonight, so we'll
Okay.
hear what they.
Bylaw regulation review.
Her notes were discussed section on minimal encroachment allowed for grandfather project, or just table until the next meeting.
I guess right now we're putting there, due for opening a meeting. And other updates, anybody got anything they need to talk about?
My only question was on 417 King. The backup notes was that they were supposed to be in tonight, or that they were supposed to have something for us. So, but I don't see them on here, so
Okay.
I guess we'll just,
Well, it's another page to this, I think. It's on one of them.
we'll just follow up with Amy to keep on top of that.
Yep.
Okay.
It's 7:45, we got a public hearing notice of intent, 22 Cricket Lane, U 46-7, Mass DEP number 204-866, for replacement of a septic system and well.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Kevin Ritchie from Civil Solutions. I'm here on behalf of Karen McDonald, the owner at 22 Cricket.
Amy's got backup comments on cricket.
So Karen's in the process of selling the property. It's down right on the pond, on Spectacle Pond. I don't know if she actually had a Title V inspection done or not. I think she may have, but it failed. It's probably partially over the property line, possibly. But 22 Cricket's almost at the end of almost the last house. It's the last standing house. There's a few other places that are in a little rough shape down at the very point.
It's like hanging off the hillside.
Yeah, no, so it's
They built, yeah.
yeah, so this
Reminded me of the Adirondacks.
is like
It's
two
like built
two
into
before
the-
that one.
It was.
The one that's
blue
hanging.
one.
This one I think is brown.
Was it brown? That number 22 said
I
blue.
think so.
Like everything was blue.
Yeah, it could be.
Like
Everything's brown to me, so.
Well, it is built into the hillside there, though. It looked
Yeah,
like it
no,
was
it's right at the
I
bottom.
didn't mean to imply that it wasn't well-maintained. That wasn't what I meant. It just
Oh,
was like
I thought you were
stuck
talking
into
about the other one on the very end.
No.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's tucked
stuck
right into,
into the side of
it's
it.
a fairly steep
Yeah.
hill there from Cricket down to the pond or down to the
Quite a,
house.
yeah, it's
So
quite
there's a
slope,
waiver
isn't it?
that's been requested.
Yes, so we're
You want
working.
to walk us through the waiver?
Yeah, so we're working, so the existing septic system's down here in the side yard, is the edge of the pond. The house, it's a retaining wall, the stone wall across the end of it, kind of with the beach area there. Septic system's here in the flat side yard, I guess. So we pushed the leaching area as far from the pond as we can.
And what's your distance?
The leaching area is outside the 100-foot. The septic tank, we're actually using some advanced treatment. We're using a jet, which is basically an aeration chamber to clean up the effluent so that it's much cleaner when it hits the ground. So we've got the jet, which is basically the septic tank, a pump chamber which lifts the liquid up here. Currently, when we went to have the well located, the homeowner indicated the well was down here along this retaining wall, but we could never actually physically see it. So we had, Skillings went out to actually locate it. And they ran a snake down the line, and it went out, must have gone out 45 feet. 45 feet either puts you in the lake or into some kind of shallow well. So it's either right now, it's drawing water out of the pond.
Okay.
So in order to maximize the offset from the well to the septic system, we put the well basically more or less back where it was indicated. So the well is 18 feet off the edge of the pond.
There's no town water down there?
No. Everyone is on wells down there, yeah.
Yeah.
This one actually worked out fairly well because there's a vacant lot beside it. You can see the neighboring well arc here, and I believe these other houses are probably drawing water out of the
Can
pond.
you talk a little bit about access to that well and also tailings and
Yep, so what
from
they're
that well?
gonna do on the well is, we talked to the guy who's put in for the permit, who's gonna be
Because that's gonna
pounding
be
the
part of the
well.
waiver as well.
Yeah, okay. So he says, I guess he sets up a tripod and pounds it by hand. So now whether it's, I don't picture him out there with a sledgehammer, but he must have some kind of weight on his tripod, and he drives a 2-inch shaft down in here, kind of like a point.
With a vibrating hammer or something?
I'm not exactly sure, but he didn't seem to need to get any heavy machines down there, because that was our initial concern, is how are they getting a machine down there? And
How deep is he going?
I think he's going 20 to 30 feet.
For a water supply well?
Yeah.
I've seen.
So I guess they're pounding the point, and then they're gonna, there's no running water associated with it, but they must flush it out to get the sand out of the pipe.
Yeah, they'll
He
develop
indicated
the
there'd be
well.
no more than 5 gallons of sand being washed out of the well
Do
point.
you have your erosion control and any type of dewatering area, like a pit for that?
We don't have a pit on hand because the volume was so small. We can certainly add one if you want.
You would
We do
need-
have some erosion control between the well and the stone wall.
You're gonna have to hook
Then-
that all the way around, so that if there is, all of a sudden, if they hit and the water does come out, yeah, you'll have to think of the scenario in terms of where that water's going to go.
But you're gonna need to dig a line too from there.
Yeah, so
to
we'll
the
go from the
house.
house to the well, so we can
So
extend
you'll have to
the,
horseshoe it,
why don't we extend the hay bale line up to the
and on the other
to
side.
the house, so there's no access around there. And we can run it up the lot line too, to probably this other section.
How many gallons per minute is it gonna draw?
I would guess it'll draw pretty good down there. I would guess the water, I'd be surprised if you could suck it out fast enough.
It's a 2-inch diameter?
That was 2-inch, and then they're gonna put I think they'll sleeve it with 3/4 inch. They'll actually, the 2 inches, the casing,
Wow.
and then they'll put the,
Micro
It's
well.
like a point, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that
it's
with
like
the
a-
screen on, screen
Yeah,
on
Micro
it.
well.
Yeah.
Barely get a water level indicator down there at the same time as tubing to purge it.
Any vegetation that has to come down for
Is it-
access?
there's a few trees here in the area of the tanks themselves. So these trees will have to be removed just because
Okay.
when they're,
Inventory of them, can you tell us about them? Diameters and where
yeah, I
they're
think,
gonna be
yeah, this
replaced?
big pine trees probably, they're probably all at least 12 inches. They're all larger trees.
Okay.
There's nothing really scrubby in here. So the pine's kind of overhanging the house, 2 oaks over here and another oak up at the base of the slope, kind of.
They plan to have a professional company come in,
I would guess they're gonna have to have somebody in there with a crane.
Tree Masters or
I
something.
would think they'd almost have
Okay,
to,
so-
just because the lot line, it's so tight to, everything's so tight between the house and the lot line. I mean,
Okay. So what are we doing to revegetate for those that are coming down in terms of restoration?
I guess they'll loam and seed this, turn this into lawn here. It's kind of, I don't know what I would call it now,
Okay.
pine needles.
Right, but
No,
lawn,
but
lawn
just
and then
something
fertilizer
to-
is not something that really is, when you're going from trees to taking the trees out, we're not interested in
No,
then going
and
to
a
lawn.
lush green lawn, yeah. no.
So we would look for that to be on your filing of what your vegetation and restoration's gonna be.
Okay.
Especially if it's shading, providing shade.
To the water,
Yeah.
right? So
Water
you're
line.
changing,
it's
you're changing temperature to habitat.
And spectacle ponds.
I
and
would think
vertical.
those trees are so far off the pond now that they wouldn't really have an effect on that. It's not like we're taking anything that's overhanging the pond.
It's like 50 feet, is that right? It's about halfway to the 100?
But how tall are the trees? I'm sure they offer
Yeah.
windbreak and shade. So,
Use for enough.
exactly.
Stabilize the slope.
Although, do they have any requirements for proximity of trees to the well, like, so
No.
that they won't?
Okay. So if that's something that you would like to submit to us, we need to schedule a site visit.
I think, did Amy not go out already?
Have any of the commissioners gone out? I believe
I did
this-
a drive-by, but I didn't go onto the property.
Okay. So,
Do you
I
want-
believe this is the first time that this has been heard, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, commissioners would go out to see the site. So, do you guys want to try and work through that? And then for the next meeting, he can submit based on your comments and also a restoration plan? What's good for you guys?
Do you want to do after Cloverdale on Thursday, like 6:30ish?
You'll have
Well,
sunlight.
If the selectmen are going to be there with us, it might be longer than half an hour, do you think?
That's true.
You want to do it before?
Yeah, we can do it before.
Because they moved that one, so. What time do you want to try and say for that? Andy?
5:25.
We gotta deal with the traffic to,
5:20. No.
seriously, you gotta then come.
That's true. Maybe 5:10 then?
I mean, it's
I
up-
can't get there that early, sorry. I'd rather do it after the Cloverdale one.
You can if you're still gonna have light. You should.
You should have
I
lights.
can't do
Yeah.
after.
It should be light.
Okay.
Yes, I think it's late up to almost 8:30 now.
So what works for you guys? We've gotta give him a time.
Not if there's a cloud bank.
I'm fine either way.
What's good for you?
I can do it after. It doesn't matter. After. Why don't we just all agree to go after we're done with the selectmen at Cloverdale?
Okay. Whatever time that is.
So you're meeting with them at 6. So realistically, they won't
Probably
be there till
7-ish.
7.
7:15.
Yeah, between 7 and
By
7:15.
the time you drive.
So,
Yeah.
yep.
On what day would that be?
Thursday.
Thursday,
This
this Thursday.
coming Thursday?
Yep.
Is that-
Is there anything?
6th, right?
Yes.
This is that 7.
Oh,
So,
7.
yeah,
7
so
o'clock.
7 o'clock, and so, and then if we can just send an email reminder that morning, so Amy can send that.
Thursday's the 7th.
Yeah, okay. And so, and then this will be continued to June the 18th, and Amy will let you know what time.
Do you need a waiver from Board of Health to have
It's
your
all-
well down gradient?
No,
from
it's
your
all,
septic?
it's all approved. It's permitted to the Board of Health. That's one of the reasons why we added that advanced treatment.
Yeah,
Was-
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
that's
distance from
gradient, you're
the existing well to the existing septic system is,
short.
I don't know, it's probably
You've
less
done
than
water
50
testing?
feet.
There's
They did do water testing.
nitrates and.
They weren't bad at all, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good.
But now we've increased the offset from the
Yep.
well to the.
Right, in addition to.
And we've increased the horizontal, the vertical separation as well.
Okay, so just to recap a couple things, restoration and dealing with your dewatering of your well and how you're gonna encompass that
Yeah.
for protection.
Okay. Do you have something you'd like for
You're the engineer.
restoration?
You're the engineer, come up with what you think is appropriate, and we'll comment on it. So certainly look into stabilizing that bank and vegetation. So,
And usually when trees are cut in that close proximity, we don't have them remove the stumps, so it'd just be, you can grind the stumps.
Are you
Yeah, I think
abandoning, do you have
some-
a tank there?
We do have tanks, and that's why,
you
so I'm
abandon-
thinking the tanks are going to,
Come out,
the stumps will come out because of
Oh.
the tank hole.
I see.
okay. So that's something,
That's,
if,
I mean, here's the tanks.
Where can shrubs go? Would shrubs be?
You know, we could put shrubs back in that area. Yeah, those would be
so that's
fine.
something, if you can figure out if they are coming out or not. So, and will you be able to be at the site walk? Or will
Should
the
be able
homeowner?
to.
Okay, so maybe if you can find out by then the trees and the stumps and the course of action, if everything's gonna get removed or not.
Okay.
Okay, we gotta keep going. You ready?
All righty, thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Notice of intent, 151 Taylor Street, R10-14, Mass DEP 204-8 something, for demolition of the existing facility and construction of a new shipping facility, parking and loading area,
Okay. So-
subsurface infiltration rain garden, fire lane continued. That's going to be continued to June 18th.
But Amy would like to try and see if there's a time to set up the site walk, or you can have the hearing and then do the site walk.
Where is 151 Taylor? Does anybody know for sure?
Oh, it's right by the loam processing plant.
The what?
The loam facility is 140 Taylor Street.
Oh.
Oh,
So it's across the
Pacey
street.
property.
So it's across
So
the
it would
street.
be
So if
across
the
the
numbers
street.
are running,
Right.
so it's
So it'd
the,
be across the street.
Okay. Okay, we got 5 minutes. Anybody got anything they have on their mind?
so the question was at the beginning, the bylaw review.
Wait, are we supposed to set a site walk for 151 Taylor?
Yeah, do you guys want to try and do that ahead? We'd have to have the applicant there.
Oh, okay, then never mind. I was just reading from notes.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
Yeah. So we'll keep that continued.
Disregard.
So I guess, is there any information on the bylaw change or anything that you want input from?
I think maybe we should table it because
Yeah, I feel like we need information in front of us. I know we had talked about like a de minimis change, and I think it was like 500 square feet was thrown out there, and I was thinking that's a little too big to not have to do anything. I think that.
I don't even have a
we could
copy
brief-
Okay.
of
All
the
right, so we'll come back
draft.
to
Do
that.
you?
So one thing you may want to do is go to the second page of notes where it says meeting discussions continued, just as a point of reference so everybody knows what's being tabled further on. I don't know if you guys have copies of that. It's the third page. Hartwell Ave, conservation restriction update. So these are things that are coming down the pike. Cloverdale you already know about. 417 King, so they're going to come in for a certificate of compliance. The 10 Fort Pond, Amy put together a report that if anybody wants to see, based on the vernal ponds there. It looks like Kinghorn, the draft conservation restriction will be in for July 9. Remember that has to be done by the fall. Then you've got notice of intent for 73 Hartwell, construction of a single-family home. We still are working with the enforcement order on 65. And then Cooper Farm will be in at some point to lift enforcement orders and give construction updates.
Oh, I did have one quick thing that we could probably talk about very briefly. 2 weeks ago, Amy and I met with Rick and Jim O'Neill from Conservation Trust to kind of talk about land stewardship and what our role might be in the future in terms of the land stewards and the program overall. We kind of discussed like maybe an application that we could have them do, just in terms of like liability, maybe like a waiver at the bottom. But it's a work in progress. But we had a very good meeting and probably meet again to square things off. So
Does anybody have a release that you'd like to kind of role model after?
Acton had a very good one.
Okay.
I was thinking we could just take the entire thing, add it to the bottom of an application, and
Okay. You want to encourage Amy to do so
yeah. Oh,
with everybody's support?
Yeah.
so we were thinking, not to take too much more time, but we were thinking of maybe having the land stewards like under a dual program, like we would kind of designate people as land stewards for the commission, but then the trust would provide direction, if that makes any sense. So they'd be under this board, there would be oversight from this board, but the trust would kind of like lead things, if that
Drive
makes
the
sense.
bus.
Drive the bus, yeah.
Right, but I think that the commission has to, because ultimately we're responsible for it, if there's trainings or just a annual meeting, everybody has to be on the same page.
Absolutely.
So some commissioner needs to sit in on whatever they're being told, so to make sure that they're running parallel to each other.
Absolutely. And I go to the trust meetings all the time, so
Well, but I also think we need to have somebody respond to us, because we are responsible for our lands. It's not necessarily just the way the trust wants to do something.
absolutely.
It's how we would, as a board, would have things done, or want to have things done.
Well, it's kind of like that inventory checklist, like what has been done annually for each. That you could even do it quarterly, and that way you're more part of that process.
We were thinking of even having Jim O'Neill, who's Director of Land Stewardship, come in maybe quarterly and give updates. And
I mean, we have thoughts about parking lots or different things that we kind of our agenda a little bit is what we would like to see done and how we want it done, not being told by.
oh yeah.
So I think that, I think if we can try and enhance how we work together, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Can I just make one note? Amy said that she's assuming you'd want a review for the stormwater, and she's asked for a proposal from Green International. Please vote, or at least get a consensus that I should proceed with that. That's on the note.
Oh, yeah.
Which one?
It's in the top.
Oh, the one that she wanted us to do a site work
Yeah.
for? Okay. So if somebody wants to make a motion to Amy's request, we can vote on that.
So moved.
Here a
Second?
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 All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And there was something about Green, I saw someplace that they were working with the deal, with Chris from the Highway Department to see whether they were going to, or how much it would cost to do the parking lot for Cloverdale. There was something, I know I saw someplace, and Green was working up a kind of a price sheet in case things didn't go very smoothly with the DOT.
Okay.
So I did see something about that someplace.
Okay. So we are ready.
Yep.
Good evening. For the record, Brian Goodrow of Hancock Associates, along with Dave Guthrie, project proponent. I do have hard copies if anybody wants them. So we're starting with phase 1 this evening. So between last meeting and this meeting, we went on a sidewalk in this area, and as well as had the DEP number issued for this. If you don't have it, it's 204-0867. DEP came back with no comments.
It's 204 dash,
0867.
okay, because Amy's notes are 8XX.
Correct, so that just
Oh,
wasn't updated.
in this though, it
It
is.
is there.
Okay.
Um,
So do you have copies of what you're showing for the commissioners?
Sorry, everybody wants one?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so this is phase 1, 2, and 4, as
So we're
well as the
discussing
exhibit for-
One right now.
Yep, correct. As well as the exhibit to the culvert. It's a minor change to that.
There's some irony there, right? With the amount of paper for conservation, right?
So this is just the phasing plan showing the entire K-States project. Phase 1 being here, phase 2 being here, phase 3 minimum intent is filed because there are jurisdictional areas associated with that, and then phase 4 down closer to ground. So phase 1 is for land, it's this piece right here. Now what we've done in the interim since the site walk and since DEP issued their number is we took comments that were made during that site walk and incorporated them into the plan. So what we've done is we've pulled back grading as much as we could from the western side on lot 33, on lot 31. So there was quite a bit of discussion regarding the hill on the left-hand side as you walk down for land. And we really tried to limit the amount of tree clearing at the top of the hill. So right now, it's basically where the crest of the hill is. Down the backside, all that vegetation is to remain. On lot 31, we also shifted to a different style house footprint. If you look at lot 32 and 33, they're a much longer style home. Well, what we proposed here is a much shorter. Towards that right-hand side as much as we could, which again limits the amount of tree clearing that we had to do, heading towards the 50-foot buffer. The septic system is where the septic system is, so nothing really changed in that area. Lot 32 did not change, and lot 33, we did pull the silt fence back closer to the house to allow for some of that vegetation within the 100-foot buffer to remain. And those are kind of all the changes to phase one.
I was looking at your rock cut out, that's behind lot 31. It looks like it's pretty unconsolidated. Are you anticipating, like stability, needing to do anything for stability there?
So we're gonna limit seeded Judith, so we have that as a part of the open space corridor planting plan that we had issued last time. We actually incorporated this area into that plan, so we specified seed mix and ground cover and things of that nature in that area.
So where's that stone wall that's there presently?
Stone wall is the dark line that is right here. That's the limit of.
So
what is
this
the
line
limit
right
of-
here.
Mhm.
Yep, that's it.
Go right through a house.
Wait, which plan, are you open one, is that, this is this one, okay.
Yep, so that's big. So the way.
So this one doesn't show. Is there a bigger plan of this one that I should be looking at? This is an old one. This is the original.
Yeah, so this is the.
So should I be looking at a different plan is what I'm asking? To see the
So-
bigger blow up of this?
Exactly, so that's what this is.
This one here?
Jim?
I can't see that far. I can't see that close. Time for different glasses, I think.
Okay, so, my bearings. Where's the wildlife reference on here?
Wildlife access corridor A.
So that is,
Lot 13, and then we have this strip of land next to the right of way that will become a part of that. And then the planting extends up the slope.
this is the stone wall. And this is where the cut is. So is this existing condition cut that's on here now?
Generally speaking. It's gonna have to get smoothed out, it was more than a one-to-one slope right now, so.
Right, but it's gonna cut more?
A little bit than what you saw on the sidewalk.
Okay, because when we were on the sidewalk, we were pretty specific about where the stakes were
Mhm.
and
So the
what
stakes-
trees.
The stakes were back here on the 50,
Mhm.
and now we basically split the difference, so that's probably 25 feet.
But those, some of those stakes coming up the hill was where it was already cut. So you're saying you're splitting the difference and going more?
Well, we have to, so that we can get that 3-to-1 slope. So what's out there today, as it stands, is not 3-to-1.
Okay, but what I'm saying is what was represented when we were out on site was that it wasn't going to be cut more. So I'm just trying to be clear. So what we're hearing now is
No,
in order to
what-
get
what
that,
was-
we're,
That's not exactly, what was represented when we were at the sidewalk is we set stakes at the limit of work.
Uh-huh.
So, and those stakes were generally at the 50-foot notice there in this area. What we've done on this plan is pulled it further away, so we're probably 75 feet.
What's cut in the field, though,
What's
right
cut in
now?
the field is,
Outside the 100?
it's outside the 100-foot
I
buffer.
think that's a confusion.
So the double big dot is the 50-foot, right?
Yep.
So Sarah, you were saying that this cut here was of concern?
Well, and then down here. This was the area. Where's the other stone wall?
Yeah, there's stone walls back here and here.
I think the proximity to the wetlands was really where the stone wall is. The proximity of all this cut in through here.
Right, so we're working within very specific site constraints, where we have front yard setback. We have an area for the septic system that's obviously outside of the 50-foot, and then limited grading that's associated with that.
Right.
We did shift the house style, we shifted the house location to try to minimize that as much as possible.
I think the concern we had was the taking of all the trees up on the top, where they offered a lot of shade cover for this vegetation in here. And that still remains a question and concern because of how fragile this area is in here.
And again, the point of this revision was to eliminate as much of that as possible. And we've done that by shifting house footprints, pulling things closer to the road, and taking grading and retaining walls as such.
Okay, so where's the plan that you had before, which shows how much you've changed? Got it. Swimming in your paperwork. The one that was presented before.
I feel like you had it a little. It's in there.
Did I slide it to one of you guys?
I think there's two here. 3 here. Yeah, I know, we'll hold on to that. There's a third there.
The one that I had out on the sidewalk.
Oh,
I know I had it when we first started.
You were looking at it.
What is the title of the one that you?
Oh, no, I'm just looking for the one that I had out on the sidewalk.
I thought you gave that to me, it's in my car.
No, I just had it at the start of the meeting.
Oh.
Sorry. You guys carry on while I find it.
I have, oh no, never mind. Those are different.
So let's go ahead and talk about road drainage and where the drainage is going and how, if it's coming on to the Durkee property, and just kind of go through the flow of that.
Yep, if you take a look at the areas outside that were cleared during the sidewalk, that's essentially this area in here. It's a subcatchment on its own. It currently flows towards Durkee, and we're not changing that. We're putting in the road, we're putting in a series of catch basins, 2 small underground systems to discharge to the wetlands. That's essentially what happens right now. All this goes in the catch basins that are on Fraser Street, discharge to the infiltration basin, and go to the wetlands. The backyards of these lots just sheet directly into the wetlands, and we're not changing that. The only impervious areas that will be tributary to these wetlands are roof. Driveways, pavement are all collected, treated, attenuated, and discharged. So what we're doing is we're mirroring existing drainage patterns. Something else that is going to be since the last meeting is we were issued a final peer review from Green International, and they have fully vetted and concurred with all of our drainage calculations.
Assuming that everything down gradient is up to where it was supposed to be built and functioning.
So there are notice of intent, or order of conditions issued throughout the Durkee property.
Right.
We're going to have to certify all of the drainage, all of the impervious areas, and that kind of thing.
Right.
With respect to stormwater management basin sizes, things like that.
So many of us have been back out on site to kind of look at some of the detention areas road drainage as well. When was the last time you were out on site?
It was the sidewalk.
So you haven't been out since?
I know.
Okay. So I think we have a couple questions, and they come back to the original filings for Durkee, that the commission has stated numerous times that if you're going to take the K property and bring water onto the Durkee, that we need to make sure that the recipient of that, A, is able to fully function. And so, and that's kind of down gradient. And so even out today, photographs of the road and catch basins and lack of silt sacks and things like that. So we recognize this road is not maintained. And then we've talked about the cleaning of your detention basins through the O&M and then down gradient as well. So we just want to talk about that because I know I've been very vocal about making sure that if anything is coming from K onto Durkee, which I don't feel comfortable with until we know that drainage is able to be absorbed properly through Durkee.
So this all goes back to those rather lengthy conversations that we've had about infiltration basin 2, infiltration basin 3 and 4. We're in the middle of construction site. So we were always representing that regardless of whether we reconstruct.
We weren't ever talking
that.
about K then.
So right now this water flows onto Durkee. We're not changing. We're not
Well,
doing
you
anything
changed it by
different.
stripping
Yeah,
it,
right
by
now,
opening it up.
it was woodland,
So it
it's
was
very
not
different.
coming down. So it is now because you
So
opened it up.
We didn't change topography to the degree that any runoff from this area would still be getting to Durkee. We're not fundamentally changing, site characteristics with respect to flow. We're changing ground cover, absolutely, and what we've done is we've designed the system to attenuate and accommodate for that. At the end of the day, when we're going for those COCs on the road, on the stormwater management system, at that point in time, we will be certifying that these.
But
these
you're
will be
adding
flow.
more flow into something that is not completed.
This is a separate system.
You're coming over to here, you're coming down the road, and it's coming over.
Going to Basin 4, that's always been functioning. The
Right,
only
but it
basin in
hasn't,
question is Basin 3.
been maintained, so if you go out there and look at it, it still needs to be cleaned, it's fully vegetated, took pictures of it today. You've got water that's coming down here and coming, you just stated, it's coming down here, and it's coming into the street. Where's that going?
Basin
Same
4.
place.
It's all going to
So-
Basin 4.
So we're
Right,
not
so-
changing anything.
This was designed to deal with Durkee.
With ample room for whatever we do with respect to K. And we're supplementing that with a second system.
We don't want to cut the banks of 4 or any of those banks while it's just wet. No.
Where's the second, you just mentioned a secondary, so you're referencing in the road here, next to the wildlife border. Okay. And nothing goes down into the farm pond and down the road?
Nope.
Disagree.
I'm kind of in favor of getting the stuff on Durkee functioning properly before you add any more stuff to it. And that means getting the piping in for the farm pond, that means getting these basins and stuff up and having them function so we know they're gonna work before you add anything more to it.
Well, we're not adding to Basin 4, we know it works. I mean, we are adding to Basin 4, sorry, that's the one we know it works. The Achilles heel has always been Basin 3, it's independent of this site. Independent of it. And nothing's going in the farm pond now that the curbing is up. The piping we need to talk about when we're not in the public hearing for this thing, but and we're happy to do that, we're prepared to do that tonight, and I think we have a window between this hearing and the next to talk about it, but it's a minor change, but it's been blessed by everyone, we're ready to put it in. What happens in this situation is we don't get in the ground, and then we don't, we end up starting the thing in the fall. It's like the pipe. We tried all last summer to put the pipe in, and we were blessed in February. Pretty tough time of year to do it. But independent of that, this is the time of year to build this stuff, and it can be stabilized in the fall. Eliminates all those headaches.
So you're saying, okay, so the number 4 is working, which my
Still
impression
needs-
is it
Still needs to
is,
be cleaned,
but it
needs to be
cleaned.
maintained, which it is not. So I was out there today.
And so the drainage calculations show that the additional water that's
Certified
added
by
from
Green,
Hay,
correct.
it will still continue,
Yep.
but will the maintenance increase, I would think, if you're getting more?
Same one.
I mean, the growth is probably 6 inches to a foot tall. Can we agree to that? We just don't want to be out on those banks. They're a year old, 2 years old. We don't want to cut them when it's wet. That doesn't make any sense. We'll cut them when it's dry. They're not prohibiting the function of that by any means. It's not like there's 3 feet of hay in that basin. I was out there Friday. It's not the case. So when it dries out, we'll maintain it. I don't know if that should be done in the spring. I mean, similar to when we cut the fields once a year, we cut them in the fall. But if this wants to be done sooner, then we'll do it sooner. The same with we rake out the leaves in Basin 2 every year, but we wait till it dries out. I honestly think we need to take the tree down that's adjacent to Basin 2. Shedding in it every year. I don't think it's feasible that that basin's going to be maintained quite as well as we do it. It's functioning, it's almost dry.
There are a lot of trees, there are a lot of leaves, there's
Yeah.
there's some sheen in there, I'm assuming it's biological, but
Yeah,
there's
so-
definitely some sheen in Basin 2, and then in the, right in front of the culvert by Grimes, definitely sheen. There's also sheen across the way in the stream. I poked it with a stick, it wasn't obviously biological, it could be, that it wasn't, like, biological sheen will be blocky and usually doesn't come back together right away. This was a little blocky, but it also came back together, so you guys can check it out. I do share Sarah's concerns as far as, like, I get what you're saying with the timing and, not wanting to be in a position where we've got, massive erosion issues in the winter, but at the same time, I feel like there needs to be some sort of interim maintenance of some of these basins before they get too far gone. I mean, we had overflow issues last summer because we had a really wet summer. Who knows what's going to happen this summer? And so my feeling is, maybe some interim maintenance since this project's going to be extended for, I think, a couple of years.
Well, I think what we're seeing now, that the water that's coming down Fraser, which is coming down and around, isn't making it, and it's coming through here because there is no curbing across there. So that water is coming down and you can track it down the road, which is what it was doing today.
Well, when you get flashy events too, they just bypass, and you guys know that, they just bypass the culverts.
Right.
Well, that gives us the, so the goal is to pave Balsam and Fraser past, I think, by October. DPW director has issued a 2-year limit on his binder coat.
Right, yeah, I remember you mentioning that.
And the goal is to tie this fur into it, and then, the reason they don't allow you to put binder and finish down in the same year is they want the settling to occur. Roads are going to settle, trenches will settle, catch basins around catch basins settle. You shim it, you make sure they function, you pass a water test, or there's no way that they're going to accept the roads from us. So that ensures that all the drainage systems are highly functioning. And in order to do that, it's nice to tie this piece that's paved and the drainage into this piece here when we run a finish coat by it. But again, if the desire is to hold this up so that we can run a lawnmower through Basin 4, which is highly functioning.
No, I think we're talking about the water potentially still coming down into this system further down. So, Brian, can you walk us through yet again how the water is coming down here and none of it's coming out of here and coming down?
Correct, there's a catch basin at the end of Berlin, which will collapse run off. The entirety of Berlin is pitched in this direction.
Yep.
So driveways, front yards of these 3 lots will go down the road, be picked up by these 2 catch basins.
And then where are they going, though?
The water goes into the underground system.
Which is then coming over to
which
here?
then comes over and
So where is that pipe over here? So that's this pipe.
Correct.
So it's pitched so it comes back to here?
Is this infiltration with overflow into 4?
It's not infiltration, it's detention only. And the
Okay.
overflow is adjacent to 4.
So can you just draw, if you were water coming down from there? Okay.
And then the road itself is going in this direction.
And what is this proposed 8-inch gate for WV? So what is this all right here?
Right.
this proposed.
That's water line.
Yeah, that's one.
Water line, that's a shut-off.
Yeah,
So that's a shut off
we
there,
have the
so-
utilities, that are all shown on this plan, gas, water, and electric service, as proposed by, the Littleton departments.
Our change in construction procedure from Balsam Fraser to Spruce, where we put the entire Cape Cod berm in and then stabilize our shoulders, I think proved to serve us pretty well on Spruce compared to Balsam Fraser the year prior, when we didn't have all our berms in. And so we're proposing to enact the same sequencing here, where we can get those berms in and channel the water into those catch basins coming down Fir and bring them into 4, which quite honestly, by the time, if we're fortunate enough to get this approved, and then the order gets issued, and then the appeal period ends, it's probably, hypothetically, if it was approved tonight, you're a month away at least, until we're approved on this site, and free and clear. And then we can, if the concern is to maintain Basin 4, and cut it.
Oh, my concern is that there's going to be water that leaves this site, comes onto this road, doesn't even go near 4, and carries down.
During construction,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Or post-construction.
once we're paved,
I'm just saying, those are my fears, is that there's gonna be water that continues to come down this road, comes into other catch basins, and goes down, bypassing 4. So during construction. So is there another pipe that has to go over, or everything's gonna go through existing?
That's a pipe parallel with the existing pipe.
A pipe parallel, so an additional pipe has to go in.
Correct. And it just has to do with elevation.
And where's that second pipe on this plan?
It's right next to the existing pipe.
So the hatched line?
The hatch line is the existing pipe, yeah.
I think our new construction sequence proves that we're capturing water in the roadway into the catch basins, and we see that on Spruce. We would be applying the same technique to this roadway, which is fairly short in nature.
Another kind of key point on this plan that I don't believe that I had mentioned, if you look at the yards of these lots, there's triangles and diamonds, and those are representing essentially the edge of manicured lawn, not unlike what we did with Turkey. So while we had a silt fence that defines limit of work, interior to that are going to be the signage. And we placed it in areas that will allow for naturalized slopes and limit kind of that manicured lawn further. And then really that limit of work is exclusive to the grade.
I think in a lot of cases, you have a 50-foot no disturber. In a lot of cases, we're well outside of that.
Right.
By
So
choice.
One thing which was very evident when we were walking back here, so say you have trees that are inside the 50, and yet they're very close to some of these homes, a homeowner is going to want to take those down based on the proximity. And that's why when we were going through, we were all looking up and going, okay, well, there's additional trees that are going to have to come down. So I think when we were looking at these, but what you're telling us is that these houses have moved since we were out on site.
Lot
Lot
32
31.
and 33 have not. Lot
31 has.
Lot 31, we tried to pull it further.
Remember
away
how we were
and
looking
shifted
up
the
and
footprint.
looking at the trees?
I went separately, I wasn't here with you guys.
So the limit of work is the limit of work, there's no additional tree clearing beyond that.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, based on where this proximity is, there were trees that we saw that were large and would be then overhanging potentially some of these.
Like
So-
15 feet, looks like
Yeah, I mean,
Turning
there
from
were some
this corner?
significant trees, so it's kind of like,
That's like 15 feet. From
Yep.
there to there is 15.
yep,
That's the corner you're talking about.
right. So is this edge of, where's edge of fill? End of fill on some of these?
If the line with 2 hash marks is the sill fence line, that's our limit of work.
Limit of work, but are we filling right up in, right to that?
It's actually a little bit of a cut.
Yeah, it's grading.
That'll be a walkout for us. That's an existing 272, and we're at 270 out the back.
So is this neighborhood, right now it looks like it's in a bowl.
Mhm.
Is it like mostly going to remain?
That's
in a
exactly
bowl?
kind of what I was trying to describe to you with respect to what's tributary towards Fraser Street right now and what the existing condition is. Yes, front yards will go towards the street, backyards will go towards the wetlands.
Except that, well, the backyards here will go up against like a cut, basically, or that 3-to-1 slope.
Yeah, but then it goes right
And
down.
then it goes
Yeah,
right
no, I know,
down.
it goes right down.
So let me ask you on 32, with your concern there in the grading, if we were fortunate enough to get approved, and I came back with a house plan that looked like 31 as a minor modification, which would reduce the impervious, would that provide some relief?
I think what was happening is that, based on, when you look at some of the very significant mature trees that potentially could be right over here, we're just trying to keep some of the canopy because all this canopy's been stripped. So we then don't want to have to go into, we don't want a homeowner to come back and say, well, there's a liability at the 50-foot.
Well, I think what I'm offering is a resolution of that. So that the house plan of 31, try to picture that overlaying 32, this one here, sitting here, which pulls it away from it and gets rid of this length, because it's driven by the length that's pushing it out back.
Right.
But if I could take this and kind of put it here, does that provide some relief to this?
Well, but I'm just making a general assumption that that's something that we saw based on the stakes that were out there, that some of the mature trees were very close to the house corners, so I think.
Specifically that house corner, right?
I think it was this house, yeah.
I'm looking at the plan, it is a
Yeah.
house, but I'm suggesting that
Yeah.
I could bring that modified version in,
Well, I mean,
reverse.
Just go out and see if if the trees are a factor. So, okay. And you submitted plantings for the wildlife corridor to Amy, correct?
Yeah, last time.
Okay.
Well, we're willing to do that at 32.
Okay.
I don't want to build this exact same house, but it'd be a version of that. It certainly won't be as long as this house, which is driving that back corner straight to the 50-foot,
Okay.
which is providing the concern, I think. I don't want to speak for you, but that's what I'm hearing.
So I would need a lot of assurances that nothing's going to leave this site in terms of any drainage coming onto this road.
During construction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what Dave described and what we've done as a part of Spruce Street kind of showcases that.
So are you suggesting you want a temporary basin somewhere, Sarah? During construction, it's gonna flow down this road while we're building
I
it?
want to make,
That's
I want to make
exactly-
You're
sure.
saying while we're paved? Yeah, okay.
Well,
We can channel it to the side like we did that on Spruce in a couple places. One wasn't very functional, but the two on Lot 26 and Lot 22 are highly functional. We could do that here.
But put something up here, anywhere outside of the 100-foot and not coming down this road.
Yeah, pick a spot that makes sense. Yeah.
An asphalt berm, you mean?
No, we dig a hole, like we did on 22 and 26,
yeah,
I
we
think.
use the cellar
Temporary
hole.
basin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We use the cellar hole in
Yeah.
22, with half its Spruce.
Okay.
Just provides a temporary sediment basin.
Exactly.
Is
And
it- it
we
is
have
a-
We have a low point here where the system is going. That would be ideal. We can dig out the center of the
Put it
cul-de-sac.
up
as
there. That's like when everything fails down here.
well. So, but my suggestion would be these two locations.
Put it in the center of your turnaround.
Yeah.
So I would want that built before everything else gets
We could certainly,
Add sequencing to
designate.
the decision, if you
Yeah.
prefer.
that would certainly be a condition. Dave's already expressed, he'd be more than happy to do that.
Okay. So if you choose places where that, and give that to Amy. Does anybody have any questions?
Were there any similar concerns on 33K in terms of trees, or is it
It goes further. that way.
pretty much outside of 100?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty clear.
Okay.
That home is also in the ground a little more. So you don't have the grading issue quite that you have on the other one.
As we noticed, that dumpsters need to be covered too out on site, so new orders of conditions represent that with your building near, on lots that are in the wetlands area.
Have we talked about snow storage in this one?
There won't be any snow storage over there, so. Snow storage will be out of the buffer zone anyways.
Okay.
So can we talk about the dumpster storage? Just logistically, if they're up in the buffer, you want them covered?
It's an order of conditions that will fall on all the other ones. It's on all the other sites now.
Okay.
So if you have one that is under our jurisdiction, it has to be covered.
Okay.
Just because trash has been going into everybody's wetlands.
Yeah,
so.
if it's outside the buffer, are you as concerned or
No,
no?
it's not in our jurisdiction.
Okay.
We're concerned, but it's not our jurisdiction.
Yeah, I understand,
But
but the lots are subject to that order, but if the
Yeah.
dumpster's outside the buffer zone?
If that lot is under our
Gotcha.
jurisdiction,
Okay, fair enough.
then
Yeah.
it needs to be covered.
Okay,
So. Okay.
thank you for that.
So you will submit a sequence
Mm-hmm.
and designated area for your construction
BMPs.
pool. Okay.
could I suggest that be a condition prior to commencement of construction?
Yep. But I go on record that if water comes down here onto that road.
We'll have trouble seeing that in your face, Sarah.
Good that we have
I won't know-
cameras,
I
so
won't
we
know when
go
you're
on record.
upset.
But I do want to go on record that your road needs to be worked on. So this is not best practices
Mhm.
of what's going on out there now. And I've asked a couple times, where are the pumping logs that are on site? So when the farm pond is being pumped, where are the records kept?
I'll have to ask Mike, that might be in the farmhouse.
I know there's a big coordination between.
Where's
the
technically the
Canadian-
farmhouse? Like, there's
Well,
no
one
one,
outside-
Grimes.
Outside Grimes and Foster.
right, but no one's ever there, so how does one access the log? Like when I was out there today, I asked a couple people and no one knew anything. So the logs have to be accessible.
Okay, maybe we'll just start leaving that unlocked.
No, I mean, just have like a construction, there can be a podium for where the construction is, I can just have copies of the logs.
Okay.
So, but it has to be transparent. So, my thoughts are, if you guys want to go ahead and make a motion to close this, and order conditions will be issued.
When Amy gets back.
Amy's away at the moment, so.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and issue an order of conditions for DEP file number 204 dash,
0867.
what's that? 0867.
Although we do have to have an update, or need to have an update on the culvert change to from Farm Pond.
Yeah, we're getting to that. That's
That will be
another
after
different
that.
hearing.
All those in favor?
Thank you very much.
Order of conditions for
We're going right into the other one.
Do we want to go on phase 2 or 4, or do we want to talk about the culvert?
I have to see
You
what's on
don't
the,
want
wait
to
a
be
minute.
here all evening.
I want to see what's on the agenda first,
Yeah,
to follow the
There's
agenda.
two.
so this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where is the?
So we have a notice for Phase 2 and Phase 4. So prior to,
Oh, we just got the
No.
culvert information Friday. Was it too late to make the agenda?
yeah,
It's
must have
under
been-
administration.
If you want to open those and continue.
Oh,
them,
that's probably
fine with
why.
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're fine if you want to open, continue, and we'll talk about the pipe, so we don't tie you up all night.
Yep.
okay, so we are, of record, gonna open public hearing, notice of intent for Phase 2, R-8-13-0. Does that have a number, Brian?
No, the other two haven't been.
Okay, so noted that Phase 2 and 4 do not have numbers associated. We're going to hold off discussion of that to go back to discussion of the pipe cross-section. So let's go ahead and do that.
Phase 2 and Phase 4 will continue.
So Phase 2, Phase 4 continued to the next, which is June 18th.
So the sketch that you have before you with respect to the Fraser Street culvert, we've had conversations with the town engineer regarding essentially what amounts to a field change. We proposed a 12-inch pipe. The site contractor, 1980, opened up the road, located the water line. The water line goes to the proposed pipe. So we now have to create an alternative solution to avoid that conflict. And in discussion with the town engineer, we proposed 2 6-inch pipes in lieu of the 12. No elevation changes, big trash racks on them, same riprap line and drop in left. And if you do recall, way back when we originally proposed this corrective action, it was 6-inch pipe to begin with, but then kind of through the discussion, it grew to 12.
Right, and our backup notes suggest that there's no impact by the change. Let's talk about timing of it.
So timing, my
We're ready.
time is out on Tuesday.
We're ready.
We had discussions on Tuesday with, or excuse me, on Wednesday with Chris, the town engineer, to come up with the solution, and then issue this immediately and circle to Amy and to make sure that we're dotting all of our i's and crossing the t's on it. We're very eager to get
Yep.
it.
Can we talk a little bit about where this is coming out on 11? Because you've got the house, and I was out there today, which looks like it's a bit of a state. The house is over here, and you're coming through in here, and it's easier to see, this is all hay bales that are all ripped up from this, so,
I was out there Friday doing this, and these posts are in, and we are outside of the posts, if you will. Here's the foundation.
just grab.
Proposed and essentially as built, because it's the plan that was proposed.
So, when you look at that, how far, you can blow it up? So
Yeah,
that's,
so we're coming, okay, I have.
so you're coming,
If you will, this is, it's this stake here, which is in front of the post, if you will, so let me bring you here.
Okay.
Post, stake, this hay bale is right here. And here is the other post. So we're running from this orange stake right here to right about here. Outside of, and here are your 2 posts which emulate these 2. If
And
that
we're-
makes sense.
We are downgrading of the foundation.
So we're outside.
so how close are you to 11?
We're on lot.
We're on a
You're
level.
on,
Yeah,
We're
I mean-
exclusively on lot.
yeah, with an easement. This is the easement here.
what I meant to say is how close are you to like the, because this doesn't have the house, oh, that's actually the
That's
house
the
there.
house, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, look closer,
And that
Then
is,
that-
that is the easement.
Probably
Okay.
18 feet off the corner.
so this area, okay, so this is the area that all, this is kind of in disarray. This is,
No, you're not-
this,
you're not
this
that
is
far
this
in.
corner.
Yeah. Yeah, because our drain comes off of that,
Right,
which he'll need to pick up. We're back here with the end of this,
okay.
back here. And that's the stake, and that's the, I
Okay.
can't say. it doesn't-
So first thing we have to do is set erosion control for that.
Additional erosion.
Well, there is none right now.
Well, there's double erosion control out there, actually.
It-
I thought.
It's
there's
already-
some here and there's some
Well,
here.
you've got some further down in the tall grass.
Which is the one that was required, and then this one, we put this other one in for the winter.
But this
winter
is the
conditions.
one that, the hay bales and that are all ripped up.
You know, if I may make a suggestion.
That's fine.
Because you've got vegetation, we want to try and protect that vegetation, because you're gonna cut that swath through. Let's just try and maybe wrap it a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I kind of feel like it's there, but maybe it's not in good condition.
The hay bales are just kind of like,
I saw those, yeah. Yeah, I saw those. No, I think when we doubled up,
but you're so close to that, you're actually, so you need to pick this up. You need to pick this erosion up over here, because these controls right here are broken. That's this one. Even though you have the one further down, this one was put in to help stabilize.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's not part of the order, that was something we voluntarily did, yeah. Yeah, we can maintain it.
Well, you had to based on the water flow that was coming down there and the way that the houses got built. So,
We can certainly do that.
what about on the opposite side?
So the opposite side, we have erosion control set. It's, I mean, it is not in good condition, we can certainly get it into good condition in that area. We're digging our trench to put the pipe in,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be the limit.
Oh, yeah, this is existing erosion, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're back, I think I saw in backup notes, there was gonna be 1 week's notice. Do you have that time still?
Here it is.
If we could.
No, we told Amy we were going, and what happened was,
Okay.
honestly, site guy believed that the pipe was gonna run through the water line, and our engineer was convinced of that, so we went out and dug it up. Site guy was right.
Okay.
Here we are with the modification, so I think Amy's been notified.
Okay. So give us 48, once you have the erosion control in, give her 48 hours. And if she's not in, someone will go out in order to keep it going. So
I
if you
expect that will be
if you
done
get,
tomorrow.
right,
Yeah. This backup erosion control.
correct.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
So to do a site, so someone,
I'm
as soon
definitely
as,
around all day Friday.
There's someone
Yeah.
checking Amy's emails while she's out.
Who do you want us to contact?
Yeah, I'm happy to
what day is
talk to
Amy
you
back?
about-
Wednesday?
Yeah, that was a short.
It's gonna rain tomorrow.
What day is
Oh,
Amy
Plenty of-
back?
yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wednesday, you get the erosion in tomorrow.
I know that.
So
But I'm
just
saying
get
we don't
that
need
in.
Amy out tomorrow, because we're gonna start. We'll get her Wednesday morning.
Okay. Yeah. Just call me. And then call me or James, and then we'll see who's around.
You have contacts for everyone?
I believe so.
On Wednesday afternoon. And
I
I'm
mean,
around
it's-
Friday. Thursday's hard for me, but I'm around.
Silt wattles or just silt?
I mean, there's vegetation there, so I don't anticipate much. Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Two and four, both
to
are
the 18th.
are continued.
night.
So those got continued?
Yep.
Because they don't have numbers yet.
Right. Yep. Yep. So the next 8:45 continued public hearing, notice of intent, 44 Bruce Street. DEP 204864, construction of a single-family home.
Good evening.
Hello.
So you'll, in your packets, you referenced, which you were sent from Chuck Karen.
Yeah, I got it.
His notes are here.
I wasn't sure if you were gonna get it.
Yep, we got it.
Amy wasn't.
Yep, no, we got it, and commissioners have read it. Sounds as though,
So has everybody read it, or do you want to take time to read it?
no, I think we're good. So long story short, the back wasn't as wet and the front is.
That sounds very simple. Put a while to get to that.
Yep.
This is what we started out with. This is what we proposed originally. We had the wetland line following the property line, coming onto the property quite significantly over here, and then going into a wetland in the back. Upon site walks, we noticed that it was wet in other areas, so we had Mr. Crossman go out and take a look and reflag that. He flagged it in such a fashion that he still believed that it was an isolated wetland that did not have a buffer zone. Apparently going out with Chuck Karen, sorry. They agreed that it is hydraulically connected, which creates a buffer zone around it of 50 and 100. The line on this side also was extended further upslope it used to run pretty much straight across in this direction. We added 4 flags over here and in the
So
letter.
this
that's where-
plan currently represents what was agreed upon.
Correct.
So what you're showing us now is
Yeah,
the,
and then,
is the grade.
and then what
Okay.
is happening is basically where I'm headed with this, like
Yep.
what happened.
Yep,
Neither one of them have said that this is connected, this is hydraulically connected, they couldn't find any
right.
information, so that did not get a buffer zone. So I updated all the buffer zone. What that does is, I don't know if you see this square, it's directly in the new wetland. That
What
is
is that
obviously a problem, that's
That
the
was the
barn,
barn
that
I
was where we
proposed.
proposed the barn.
Oh, okay.
And then we proposed the road, the driveway coming down to access the barn right away. You'd had your septic system, the limited rating was in the 50, but you can see
Right.
now it's eaten up some of this, and it's completely swallowed all of the barn, to the point where the upgraded system for this is now grading within the 50-foot. Didn't have enough time to get to certain parts of this today, because we just got this information finalized on
Right.
Thursday, so I was out testing on.
Flip this and get it out.
Basically, I took the barn out, we moved it over here.
Okay,
This, I've looked at quickly, and I can shrink the trenches up and push them closer to the house to get all that grading completely out of the
Okay.
50-foot buffer zone.
so no waiver, yep.
The only waiver that we would be coming in for would be, once I get that grading out of the buffer zone too, I could take this driveway and start it more of at an angle and get it further, as far away from that wetland as possible. I don't think I can get it out unless
Yeah,
they
I
drive
don't
up
think
over
you're
the
not gonna get,
cap.
a-
No.
don't think you're gonna get a waiver for the driveway. You can look and
So
try,
my-
you can try, but based on,
Yeah, so my
Bylaws.
idea was, there's an existing road there that the farmers use to get to these barns.
right, but it's a cart path.
Yeah, but I'd like to maintain it and keep it so that we can, I'd like to switch this barn actually over here and put the house with this, so when you drive down Bruce
Recognize
Street-
that, but the wetlands has an area, its resource area, so.
So
I
a
mean,
waiver,
that-
a waiver for the driveway is not an option?
You can
Where it's kind
certainly,
of
you can certainly apply for it, but I don't see that it would meet the criteria, but.
You'd have to do an alternatives analysis too. For
What?
an alternatives analysis to locate it somewhere else.
I can move the driveway somewhere else.
Okay,
Right.
well, that would, we
So
need to
that's-
see
I'm
that.
asking for, aesthetically for it to look better
Yeah,
going
it's
down
not-
Bruce
it's-
Street. If you saw a nice big red barn sitting there
Right,
instead of.
Right, yeah, no, and
front
we,
door of the house.
we get that, but the waiver, so our hands are tied when it comes to the wetlands, so that's where that is.
Follow our
Bullet items
bylaw.
in your
Exactly.
bylaw.
Yeah,
We have
exactly.
to-
So
Look
when
at
you
the
look at-
bylaw, yep.
Right.
It's pretty prescriptive.
Yep.
Should,
Have you had a chance to look at the
Conditions.
waiver? It's,
We
I
read
think
it before we
conditions.
left
Saying
the
it
office.
kinda
we
seemed
read
like it was up
through
to you guys, which is
No,
why
it's-
we brought this plan to you.
no,
Yeah,
because
it's
that's
not-
there,
follow
it's
the
not
bylaw.
vague. Yeah.
Conditions are pretty specific, yeah.
Yep. But if you do, you always, if there is an alternative, you're forced to take the alternative.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I certainly hear you, and especially if it's existing, but you have to look for future use. Then if someone says, well, I want to add more gravel to it, or I want to pave it, that's where that changes as well. So,
So based on that, then it's gonna stay the same, then basically we'll keep everything outside of the 50. Get this turned outside of the 50 and eliminate this driveway and just have it come in off of Lorry Lane.
okay. So then you wouldn't need any waivers.
Correct.
You'd still, do you think you could have a new plan for June 18th?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
We
Now
wanted
I
to
have all
talk
the
about, I was just
information, and I
kinda
wanted to
opening up
get.
the whole would
No,
think it'd be better to see a red barn than the front
Yeah.
door of my house.
Yeah, no, we, and
We don't get to make that choice.
yeah.
Who
Yeah,
does?
and my hopes today was to get,
No, it's because it's the Wetlands Protection Act, so, yeah. Yeah, it's not,
you'd be better off if you had a whole wetland coming right across.
right, because then you do a crossing.
It's
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah. So, well, with your permission, we would just go ahead and continue this for June 18th.
And we'll bring that in
Yep.
based on the.
Yep. And if you can have the new plan in prior to the Wednesday or Thursday prior to that hearing, that
To make
the
everyone's
commission,
life
in theory, can have that, the sooner you have it in, Amy can look at it. If there's any questions, we can go back out on site. So hopefully we could be done with you if there's no other questions on the 18th.
Okay.
Perfect.
So one more meeting.
Okay. So the wetland lines stay, and we can
Yep.
move our stuff around
Yes,
accordingly.
yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you said earlier, this wasn't connected this way either?
Right.
Did you say that? Okay.
It's
Just
just
wanted
an
to verify.
isolated
Yeah.
pocket
Okay.
over there.
Yep, okay. I heard you say that, I just wanted to confirm.
Yep, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I thought it was up to you guys to
No, the waivers.
It is not.
No.
make it look better than.
Yep.
But isn't the square footage important, though? For the isolated wetland, has to be under 5,000?
You're talking over here?
Yeah.
I think it is. That's
They're
what-
saying it's connected to,
No, it's not connected.
well, he said it goes beyond the
Beyond the
property
property line.
line, but he doesn't know the extent of it beyond the property line. So you don't know the square footage of that isolated section?
Which one?
This one right here.
That one.
Oh, that's huge.
That's huge.
That's done behind the two houses on,
Yeah, it goes all the way over to the
Yeah.
driveway, it goes around, and it would have gone even further across the field.
Right,
One
but it's
point.
not hydraulically connected.
Isolated.
It is isolated and you're not building in it,
no.
so it doesn't have a buffer.
It doesn't
would
have a
just be
buffer
if
zone.
you were gonna actually
Doesn't
impact
it
the
matter
wetland
how much
itself,
square
then
footage, though,
the
as to
square
whether or not it
footage.
has a buffer zone around it?
Isolated land subject to flooding doesn't have a buffer zone either. It's protected.
Yeah.
So this is a local, and if it was big enough to be DEP jurisdictional, it still wouldn't have a buffer zone associated with
Right.
it.
Okay.
Plus, I'm putting more water in it. That's the pool.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So good
Get some more calculations? One?
No,
Thank you.
that's mine.
Just read it. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. So, if there's no other discussion items, we would move to close the hearing at 9:02.
Should I have one question. So I visited Cooper on Friday, but I don't know if it's appropriate to discuss that I went there because it's not on the agenda, so that's my
It would have
question.
been, unless you have a concern, it would be under
Yeah.
administrative discussions.
No,
So, no.
I provided
Yeah.
Amy with a site walk
Yeah.
summary. and-
Nope, that's
Okay.
fine, and they're gonna be coming in at some point for.
Yep, no, I understood that.
Yep, so no,
Yep.
we're
Oh,
good.
Okay, that's what I thought.
One quick question. I know the selectmen are going to probably meet on June 11th to make the appointments. Did we want to make any recommendations? Because they typically look to the boards for
You mean,
appointment.
in terms of associates?
In terms of everything, yeah.
People
Did we want to
reapplying, I
maybe
think.
recommend a reappointment and associate membership?
Have we done that before?
Yeah, they've recommended the current people, or
Okay.
it's just support back to the selectmen.
So I would make,
Did we vote to close the hearing?
Jim and I-
so we're gonna not close yet.
Not quite
Oh,
yet.
you're not, okay.
Did Jim and I need to step out? or-
No, so I can make the motion, you just can't vote on it. So I would move to continue Pickard, Melberg, Rupp for reappointment, and if the opportunity comes through for Matt Cahill for associate.
So
Would be
moved.
my motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then 3 present, so.
Present?
Yep.
3 voting and 3 present.
And
We
the
need a
other-
quorum of 4, though, to vote.
You can technically
Right.
vote for yourself,
Who's
but,
present?
You can?
oh yeah.
As long as
So
you
you
can
Wait,
be
you have 4
present.
voting. Yeah. Carl's
Don't
not here.
necessarily
Oh,
vote.
it counts as a
Yeah.
quorum.
Oh, he can't
Quorum.
vote at all. Okay. Then I can't. But you still have 4.
Your present counts in the quorum, but you didn't actually do the voting.
Right.
I believe is how it goes.
Okay.
So still unanimous.
So we still have the quorum.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's just Jim and I.
I get it. Yes, so you still have quorum.
Jim's not too.
Never mind.
I guess, do you add one thing to that, that
Yeah.
you send that recommendation to the selectmen from the
Right.
board?
So we could recommend that you could be appointed maybe that night as an associate member of the commission if you're.
So that's what we just said. So that way, if you want to do it, you already have our support to do it.
And
So.
what was the date?
June
11th.
June 11th.
I think we don't know for sure.
But it
yet,
doesn't
though.
have to be that, it can be a later one as well, but while we were here and you were here.
We're meeting with the selectmen that night anyway on some other business. So that's, and they kind of specifically wanted the three of us to at least put in an application if we were going to interested, so that they could vote on it while we were down there and say, because we have a conflict on Monday nights with the selectmen and our meetings.
We all schedule the board's Sometimes we're on it, sometimes we're off.
Okey dokey.
Is there anything else anybody needs to discuss tonight? If not, can I,
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would like to have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:05.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
What was first on?